Has become a major topic of debate in India once again. What is your stand on this? What is Swadeshi Jagan Manch stand on it?
See, per se we are not against privatization, but when it comes to the public sector banks privatization, we have reservations.
Right.
In the sense that there are private sector banks, there are public sector banks. If we say private sector banks are more efficient and public sector banks are not efficient, this is not correct. Because ownership of any institution does not make it efficient or inefficient. This we have been saying from the very beginning. And public sector banks have a role to play which private sector banks will not be able to. If we look back after Narendra Modi ji took over the reign of, we know that he came out with a wonderful scheme of Jan Dhan accounts, and with the help of those Jan Dhan accounts, we could start with the JAM Trinity, Jan Dhan accounts, Aadhaar number, mobile banking, and that resulted into the distribution of the benefits directly to the people. And one of our previous Prime Minister had once said that if we send 1 rupee, 85 paisa is just leaked out, and 15 paisa only reaches the poor. In this case, full 1 rupee is reaching the poor. So that means this JAM Trinity has been having a huge benefit for the people at large, and government has also been able to save a lot by cutting out the wasteful expenditure, and the government has been claiming that we have been saving more than 1 lakh crores every year because of this DBT and because of the JAM Trinity and other things. Now, if we do not have these public sector banks, who will open the Jan Dhan accounts? If you look at the Jan Dhan accounts, we find that in the 45 crore Jan Dhan accounts opened so far, more than 90% of these accounts have been opened by the public sector banks. If we look at the share of public sector banks in the total loans and the deposits, it is 65% only, but they have opened more than 90%, 95% of the Jan Dhan accounts. Therefore, all these government schemes can be implemented only with the help of public sector banks, because private sector banks will not do that. And therefore, what we need to do is to strengthen the public sector banks. Public sector banks, if we want to make them private, it is better to run them efficiently first, to bring in more efficient management, to reduce the intervention and interference of the bureaucracy, and after making them efficient, then bring IPOs, make public the partners of these public sector banks. If you and me own public sector banks, or the government of India owns public sector banks, it doesn't make any difference. But if you hand over the public sector banks to the private sector, there is always a danger that these public sector banks will be transferred to the foreigners, because nobody in this country has the ability to purchase public sector banks, and the foreigners are looking for purchasing such huge entities, and therefore this should not be allowed. So we need to keep public sector banks within Indian ownership, and best would be if you and me own this public sector.
Well, I've taken a lot of your time. Just one last question. This is the second tenure of the Modi government. How do you view the recent, economic policies of the government?
You see, I would say that the latest economic policies of the Modi government are actually spectacular, wonderful, in the sense that for the first time I find after 1991 that somebody is talking about Atmanirbhar Bharat. Somebody is talking about, discouraging imports. Somebody is talking about manufacturing everything at home. Somebody is talking about, making our villages Atmanirbhar. Somebody is talking about making this India the superpower in defense, in electronic, in everything. And if you look at we have created a negative list for import of defense goods. Definitely it's going to be to bring us more of self-reliance in defense. Then we are self-reliant in payment systems, and that is as a result of that now we can claim that we don't need Western SWIFT. We can have one-to-one transactions with other countries, and we are Atmanirbhar. We are self-reliant in payment systems. We are getting self-reliant in electronics. We are getting self-reliance in 5G. We are getting self-reliant in many other ways, and it is just a start. Now we have a production-linked incentive scheme for 15 sectors, and including electronics, textiles, solar, semiconductors, and so many other areas. And I think this should move on.
Thank you so much for your time, sir. Thanks for joining. This is Neelam Pandey reporting with Urjita Bhardwaj for the print.